5 buzzer beaters. If you listen closely at the beginning of the show,
I did.
4 of these were in the open. One of them, the one I really wanted, the audio just was not that good because it's older. So
What year? I'll tell you who it is.
Well, we can't do that yet because we're gonna build to it.
Okay.
So that would
give it away.
That would ruin the whole idea of.
Well,
this
if they're
segment.
not listed.
No, there was it's just the audio of it wasn't good, so I had to find a newer one to put.
Is Furman on here?
Well, no, because it happened.
And that was with 3 seconds left.
It happened about an hour after I did this.
Okay.
And we'll see if it compares to some of these. History will tell the tale. Number 5, 2016, Villanova versus North Carolina. North Carolina loses that game. They had to review it, but I always wonder when I see that shot, because they did have to review it and make sure there was still time left that Jenkins made the shot. They had already dropped the confetti and the balloons and everything. So had he not made it, they would have had to but they have 2 different colors of those things, right? Mm-hmm. So the Villanova balloons and they have the North Carolina balloons. So they would have to do they just dump it on and then Villanova has to go and sit sad. But that one was a great one. Cemented Jay Wright's legacy certainly as one of the greats of all time in college basketball. But yeah, that one. And I think most people were probably cheering against North Carolina because they are, one of the big, blue blood, big bad wolves in college basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's that. I think it's also that, Villanova's a basketball blue blood, but they're not exactly nationwide looked at as any type of a blue blood. So it was like, David versus Goliath in so many, even if it wasn't really that in basketball terms, it was that in some ways compared to kind of, I guess, what we are used to is the North Carolinas and the Dukes and those schools typically winning. It felt like Villanova was more of an underdog, but really maybe that was just my perception of it, that North Carolina is just kind of, one of the flag bearers of college basketball. But I mean, it's the shot that won the game. It was an incredible game, but I mean, the shot that won the game was just insane. It was everything you dream and wish of as a young kid and all of that. It was in real life to win a national championship with time running out.
Yep.
I mean, it's everything you dream of, and that's why it was really cool.
First time I ever really remember much of Villanova, and because of being able to remember back 40 years ago is when they upset the mighty Georgetown Hoyas in '85 after they had won the national title the year before against Houston when Rolly Massimino was their head coach.
Yep. Number 4, Northern Iowa versus Texas in 2016. This is the moment where the last, and of course he was still the coach for another little bit, but the last of the Shaka Smart holdovers, I think, kind of lost their faith. Because this was a half-court just bomb of a shot that shouldn't have gone in.
You know what this one was? This is one of those when you're watching the game and you just explode. Wow! Pop your brains off.
They lost to Northern Iowa. They lost to Oral Roberts. I mean, they lost to, some teams.
Abilene Christian.
Abilene Christian. Oh, yeah, Abilene Christian. Not Oral Roberts, yeah. But, yeah, they lost a lot of different ones. And so, but this one, I mean, especially for Northern Iowa, they'll, the dude who made the shot will never eat and pay a bill again.
And then Northern Iowa then lost, but it was an unbelievable double overtime game I'll never forget against A&M.
Yeah.
So they almost clean sweep the state of the 2 teams from Texas, but lost to A&M.
Yeah, his name's Paul Jesperson, and it was half court. I mean, it was a pretty major shot, and I would imagine he never had to buy too many meals with the Northern Iowa crowd if any of them were ever around.
He's probably got a sandwich or a pizza named after him, too.
I would think so. But, what a huge moment. And, I mean, that's another one of those, just heave a half-court shot. I mean, it's not to win a national title, but to beat a team that you're an underdog to in the NCAA tournament. I mean, man, that had to be just a feeling I can't even imagine.
Yeah. Number 3, this one had to be on the list or my wedding wouldn't have gone off. 2008, Mario Chalmers, Kansas versus Memphis. This one, Memphis had no business losing this game the way that they were up. This is also, I will say, one of my great prediction moments in the history of my sports talk radio career. And that morning on the air, we're talking about the guy. I said, look, I just don't think Memphis can make enough free throws to beat Kansas. and I'll never forget as long as I live. I had jury duty in Woodway that day, and Judge Vic, the guy who was there, calls me out specifically. He said, Mr. Catalina, I need to talk to you about something you said on the radio. And I had made a copious amount of jokes about having jury duty in a municipality as Woodway. It's a suburb of Waco. There's not a lot of crime there. It was the actual case was a kid threw out a cigarette and started a small fire in the grass and was fighting it because he didn't think he should have gotten that. And ultimately the case got dismissed that day anyway, or plea bargained. But the judge called me out and said, I have to talk about things you said on the radio. I'd never had jury duty in Waco before, so I was like, oh, man, I was making fun of this whole thing. He's going to chastise me. He's like, do you really think that my Memphis Tigers are going to lose? I said, yes. He goes, you're under oath. I said, I stand by it. And sure enough, I was right. And I don't think I've ever been that right in a prediction again since 2008.
His shot didn't win it. But put it in overtime. Yes, with 9 seconds or so left in the game. Yeah,
that was good to see plucky upstart Kansas get the championship.
Yeah, they hadn't won it since '88. That was 20-year difference.
Yeah, and then
Danny Manning.
And then 14 years later, they would do it again. Number 2, this one, 1983, NC State versus Houston. It just was not like the audio. I wanted to put it in the open. Just was not there. Just was not there. I couldn't get it with the music in the background. It would have to do no music for you to hear everything. But this is one of the great moments. This is the one that kind of, I think, invented March Madness as we know it now.
Well, I mean, Magic against Bird in '79. I think it was '79. Indiana State unbeaten against Michigan State. That kind of kick-started it a little bit because of the popularity of those two. But, yeah, this is when you started to see crazy.
Yeah, this is where...
Because UCLA won like 11 of 13 or whatever it was. So
I think this is also where television really started to go, oh, this is something good for us. Like this kind of drama is really good. And, of course, launched the legend of the wonderful Jim Valvano. And number 1, as much as hated as this guy is, this to me... in my lifetime will be the college basketball moment.
The shot of all time against Kentucky. Yeah.
Duke versus Kentucky.
Can I go back to Houston for a second?
Yeah.
I think of like the Marcus Dupree 30 for 30, like the greatest that never was, the best that never was. If you're talking about like NCAA basketball teams, is Houston and that five slam the best that never was as a national champion?
UNLV was trying to win, I think, back-to-back, and Duke upset them in the semis. But no, that was just one team I thought about. But no, they were unbelievable.
I don't think any team's been talked about in the range of like just how incredible and great and national championship worthy and all of these things that they were, star laden, all that, but to not have won a title. You know what I mean? Like
they were number 1 in the country. NC State was in like 15.
More than the Fab Five. Like more than UNLV.
Yes, Fab Five was more.
Because people still talk about Phi Slamma Jamma.
Fab Five was also a hype machine, but of an incredibly talented team because of all the freshmen.
Hey, think about how much it hurt the city of Houston that the Rockets had to get Drexler back. For he and Hakeem.
By the way, also that NC State team, not only that, I remember Al McGuire used to say you have to win a close game early in the tournament to win the champ. Of course, you have to win. They won by 2 against Pepperdine, won by 1 against UNLV, won by 1 against Virginia in the semis, and then beat Georgia in the Final Four, but in the semifinals. But they had 2 or 3 point wins before they beat Houston at the buzzer by 2.
But back to Duke versus Kentucky. I remember I was at church. I had to go to church with my family. And I was a little mad that I was not getting to watch Duke in Kentucky. And so my mom said, we'll tape it. And there was something on after that she wanted to tape. So it worked out for both of us. And I had on that tape forever, when she would put it in to like watch whatever it was that she was taping, that shot, I will never forget it as long as I live. I think I rewound and watched it 700 times.
Yeah. You just kept wondering, how everything had to be perfect, from the throw, the inbounds pass, the turnaround. If he would have turned one direction rather than the other, maybe he gets the shot blocked or doesn't get it off. Yeah, truly amazing.
Yeah, I wasn't a big Duke guy, but I remember that fondly. And yeah, I don't remember where I mean, I remember like the moment pretty fondly, and obviously you see it and it brings back memories. I don't recall it as well as like other things of like, where were you when JFK was assassinated, or 9/11, or, you know, like your example there being at church. Like, I don't remember where I was with that. So I wasn't super, I guess, aware at that point, but that was incredible. I mean, I can envision the clip in my head right now of Christian Laettner celebrating, and just all the madness that ensued, and yeah, that was legendary stuff, no doubt about it, and we get a fresh reminder of it every single year, and will until the end of time probably, and rightfully so, really.
And we did today. We did today with Furman getting a steal on a throw